And action.
Is abortion ever justifiable in the eyes of God? Most mature leaders in the church and followers of Jesus would likely say no. So, as part of the family of God, what should our attitudes be, realizing what is in the heart often comes out the mouth? What does it communicate if we avoid a crisis or a need? Could the person facing a crisis feel abandoned, rejected? The gift and power of love and forgiveness is life and culture changing. Forgiveness is available to anyone who has been sexually intimate outside of marriage, regardless of whether this results in an unplanned pregnancy. Forgiveness is available to any post abortive woman as well. 1 John 1:9 says, "If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all our unrighteousness." I am a volunteer with CareNet Pregnancy and Family Services, a Christian pro-life organization serving women and families. We offer pregnancy testing, STD testing, ultrasounds, parenting classes, free supplies for mom and baby. All of these services are free of charge, and our first concern is to save the woman. Organizations such as CareNet should not be the only resource in our society meeting the needs of those facing unplanned pregnancies or providing healing for the post-abortive woman. The church also needs to be a safe place, and Jesus did not communicate shame or condemnation to any woman that he interacted with as a result of their brokenness. Today, I would like us to think about the cultural attitudes that exist within the church regarding this issue. I would like to talk about our ability to communicate love and empathy without condoning sin. Let us consider some statistics from the 2015 CDC report. 86% of women in the United States who have had an abortion were unmarried. 41% of those in the United States who have had an abortion were aged 24 or younger. Lastly, Focus on the Family says that according to the Guttmacher Institute, the research arm of the nation's leading abortion provider, Planned Parenthood, current rates estimate 1 in 4 American women will have an abortion by the age of 45. Now, as a result of the training that I experienced in becoming a volunteer with CareNet, I learned that 1 in 4 women sitting in our churches today have had at least one abortion. These women are suffering silently and about their choice to abort an unplanned pregnancy, and this should not be the case. So, what would be a powerful and effective way for society as a whole to deal with this issue? Would legislation reversing Roe versus Wade make sense? Perhaps with time and societal transformation. Currently, we may need to ask ourselves if aggressive attempts to reverse legislation would result in more societal strife. What about testimonies from post-abortive women set free? Could these be powerful and effective? Consider the following quote from Abby Johnson, former Planned Parenthood director, who regrets her involvement with this organization and who she herself has had 2 abortions. She says, "When I look back at my time there, I can't remember a single time or event that took place where I actually empowered a woman and encouraged her to find strength in her situation. Women came to our clinics to have abortions because they felt like they were out of choices, because they had no other option. Our job at the clinic was to say, 'You're right, you're out of choices, we're going to sell you an abortion.'" So let us consider some additional reasons why the church needs to have an awareness about how abortion will change a person. Many do not realize the potential aftermath that women who've had abortions experience. It's a difficult subject for sure, and according to the ministry Silent No More, the following are some of what post-abortive women experience. Mentally, often depression, feelings of unworthiness, at times suicidal thoughts. The abortion anniversary date can oftentimes be a disruptive time of life. Emotionally, guilt, shame, sorrow, anger, these are emotions that have been testified to, and nightmares and flashbacks are not uncommon. Physically, drug and alcohol abuse, food consumption, overconsumption of food are some ways that post-abortive women attempt to cope, and sexual promiscuity is another. Relationally, feelings of anger, bitterness, resentment directed at those involved in the abortion choice, namely the father or the parents. A post-abortive woman experiences difficulty oftentimes in building and maintaining close relationships. So how can the church be a life-changing agent for men, women, and families? Transforming cultural attitudes within the church not only benefits those in the family of God, but it serves to empower, or it serves as a powerful witness to those outside. The church needs to show loving, compassionate support, empowering others to do what is difficult. Adoption is another option besides aborting or parenting. So how can we in the church make a difference? First, pray. Additional suggestions: 1, involvement with reputable companies like CareNet as a pregnancy resource center, or a pro-life group such as 40 Days of Life. 2, communicate regularly within individual households as well as in the church on the subject of sexuality. Although the Lord does not want anyone to take grace for granted, He does not want us to hide in shame or fear. He wants us to be honest, courageous, and to accept responsibility for any good or bad choices we make. He wants us to trust Him, and He wants us to be able to trust one another. 3, receive training on how to minister to the post-abortive woman, and once that training has been completed, offer it in your host church or your home church, and extend that invitation out to the community, even from the host church. 4, I recommend seeing the newly released movie Unplanned, which is the testimony of former Planned Parenthood director in Bryan, Texas, Abby Johnson. In conclusion, the church should be a safe place for those with unplanned pregnancies or the post-abortive woman. Let us remember Jesus' response to the woman who was caught in adultery. He essentially said, "He who has no sin be the one to cast the first stone." Thankfully, Jesus rescues, and He loves with graciousness and forgiveness, and He thoroughly and powerfully heals when somebody gives Him access and yields to Him in cooperation. He does not want us to hide, to live in fear or shame. May we as the church be mindful and proactive in helping to empower others to edify, which involves building each other up, and let us choose our words wisely.